You know, so one of the things that I want to just share with everyone to start off with is just, and I was saying this to Stacy, is how amazing this group of humans really is, and how you guys have all connected, how you formed your own relationships. And there's like energy amongst all of you here that's like contagious, right? Like you guys all look forward to hang out, you find ways to hang out, and it's so much more than like just like a group of people, right? Like I think of like, even when Tommy was in town, a bunch of us got together. Some of you got together separately. I know Stacy and Allison are exchanging like referrals, and like, you know, it's amazing, right? We even seen Parsa show up in Greenwich, Connecticut, right? And now couple things though. One, we will get some sort of get together or dinner while the retreat's happening, right?
Yeah.
And everyone's been asking me if we're going to do our next retreat on the back of the Atlanta retreat. And I don't think so. Like, we want to go to a cool location, like Compass do Atlanta. We could do somewhere cooler. So we'll be sending out a form about some just selected months and dates and everything for everybody, right? And I think we'll let everyone collectively figure out where we want to go. Deborah doesn't ever tell me where we're going. I just have she just sends me a bill and says, Shrek, here, approve. So we'll go somewhere cool. She was thinking even of going somewhere out of the country. I don't know if that's of anyone else's wheelhouse, but she was thinking somewhere tropical, maybe Mexico, and maybe like she had some pretty interesting ideas. So is anyone opposed to going out of the country?
Nope.
Do we all want to go out of the country?
Bring it on.
It can be fun.
I think it depends where. Like, I'm always game, you know how I love to travel, but the longer it is, the harder it is to get away.
No, we're looking at a 2.5, 3 hour flight most, right? The same.
Then I'm game.
We're not going 5, 6 hours, but look, I figure we get somewhere tropical, right? Like, we'll get a cool house again, but we'll also look at outside activities, right? We'll find somewhere the hotel. But look, I think something that had like a beach, and we can go hiking, and we could also do like more community team building. Ben could lead some meditation classes, right? So, you know, I think that if that's the vibe,
get crab hands again.
no, we're not gonna. Ben doesn't
No
do
breath
like,
work, just meditation.
I think Jay-Z should lead some breath work.
Yeah, Jay-Z only shows up for the retreats.
Yeah.
So I guess that's what we're doing. I'm gonna tell Deborah today to start looking now. Is there any month? Is like November a bad month for everybody?
Well, depends on Thanksgiving. Just gotta
Probably
worry about.
a couple weeks in, 2 weeks into November, maybe. I don't think
Gotta
there's
look at Thanksgiving and school breaks and all that stuff.
Yeah. I'm thinking maybe the first week.
I think it's good.
But
The
it
what?
can't be like too close to the retreat.
When is the retreat?
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
it's like October 24th, something that week.
Yep.
Yeah, it's that week.
It's the last week of October. Yep.
Maybe like the
Maybe
first
late
week of
September.
December even.
Well, if it's December, we got to go someplace warm.
Yes, for sure.
All right, let's do that. Is everyone good? Like, we have the most of the group here. We go like the first week of December, everybody.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Bring it.
All right. So listen, Jillian Adler, I promised Megan Cottman that we would make sure that you can come. It'd be nice for her just to get away all together. So ask her, get her dates for like the December, first week of December. Josh Muncie, look at all everybody's like here. This is incredible.
Great to have everybody here.
Right. So, all right. So that's that. Josh, we're all gonna go tropical. Here's your update. We're going to go outside of the United States for our next retreat. So we're going to go somewhere warm with beaches, and hopefully everyone could come back looking like me, or ideally Angela, who seems to be darker than I am. Another thing I want to share though is a big congratulations to Jess. She actually bought her first home yesterday. So when I met Jess in 2018, she was actually what I thought was going to be my last real estate transaction. And she had messaged me to meet for coffee when I worked at Compass. And when she came here, she had a business and she was working on a team, and she started off doing like $12 million. She'll do $80 million this year, has an incredible group of humans, and just brought her first home. So, just in a few years, it's absolutely incredible what she's built and the contributions you made. So I just want to acknowledge you and just say, from all of us here, congratulations on your first home.
Yeah, Jess.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you.
Congrats.
When's the party? When's the first
Yeah.
party?
Yeah, when's the
I had-
party?
I mean, I had a party there last night on the pink rugs, but I'm renovating it. Starting tomorrow, we're demoing it, and I'm going to renovate the whole house. So I'm really excited to get going with that.
So awesome.
Awesome. Congrats.
What town? What
Thank
town?
you. It's in Port Chester.
Oh, I love Portchester.
He's
Amazing.
never leaving
Yeah.
Portchester. Never.
No.
Good girl.
And Margot and
you.
Kevin, nice to see you guys are COVID free back in the game. Andrea is the only one with her camera off. Shame on you. And so, all right, let's get started on our conversation today. As we wrap up this month on recruiting, one of the timely things about recruiting is also when to say no, right? Like we all have these strategies on how do we find more people, but the conversation we wanted to have today is when is enough enough, right? And also what happens when you recruit people, you build them up and then they want to leave, right? Like those are two subjects that I think we all need to address. And I can acknowledge both Josh and Tommy that had people go behind their back and they ultimately kicked them out. Good for you, right? So it's a very interesting conversation because it's not something you really talk about, right? And as you build your business, you have to plan for people to leave, right? Like part of recruiting is, yes, we have a value proposition, we have this, but we have a recruiting system, but what's our exit system, right? At some point, people will take value and they're just some people that want to work on a team, grow on a team, and then be on their own, right? And ultimately, each one of us need to understand what is that system? How do we make it clear from the beginning, right? Tommy, think about it. If we talk to somebody from the beginning, same thing, Josh, right? If you come here, there could be a time that you decide to go on your own. This is what that process looks like, and this is what it doesn't look like. If you choose to work to our team and take our resources and you do want to leave, we have a policy that says you can't work at Compass. It's non-negotiable. So if you plan on being on a team, you plan on being here for the long haul, or if you plan on leaving, this is the way you have to go about doing it. You give us a notice, it's a 6-month notice, and this is how we transition out your deals, and we leave as friends and we wish you well. However that is, has anyone here thought about how to go about doing that?
What? I need this ASAP because I'm encountering this right now.
I can just add that it's so important, like, because I ended up in a legal situation 2 different times just from my inability to have clarity on this. So I think as a team leader, it's so essential to have, because, and it's really important questions, like when they leave, like whose contacts are whose, or what are the listings, or like, like this girl on my team was like, I put her on like a couple major listings, and it was like when she left, she wanted to represent that she sold these properties when she really didn't, but I didn't have anything in writing, so I had no case, right? So I think it's like, it's so essential. So that's all I can just say, is that I went through it and got burned by it really bad. It's really, really important.
Do you have something, and does somebody have something that's, Tommy, I think you and I talked about that? I need something. I don't have a thing. And
I
I'm
have a
encountering this now.
termination agreement, but it only happens when you terminate them, not.
Well, I had one when I first started that's very loosey-goosey. I never called it out. I just said, we're going to do this and we're going to do this. Next thing I know, she's going on vacations with my $8 million, $10 million, $14 million clients. They're all compatriots. I've introduced them all. And she's angling to leave the team now. And I'm thinking, WTF, I'm gonna be, in a pickle here.
I have 2 things I continue, Angela, that I work with an attorney on for like hours at a time, just like combing through it, and happily it was shared. And actually, Jay-Z's got a pretty awesome agreement too. If you ever get your hands on that thing, that thing's got
I
some
gotta
teeth.
pump it. Yep.
Yeah.
I would love
So
anything.
I think take it, but then like, my advice would be work with an attorney. And,
No, I have to get one.
yeah, and like work through it like on your own stuff, but have some guidelines, and I'll give you mine. And Jay-Z's is pretty awesome too. So.
Okay, thank you. I'll take that.
Jay-Z's is so aggressive, it'll make some people uncomfortable.
Yeah, Jay-Z's I think the guy from the Cowboys did Jay-Z. So yours, that one's
The P Diddy contract.
Yeah, he got a Diddy contract to say in the hip hop. So Jay-Z's contract figures out how to enforce a non-compete, which in most states is just non-enforceable. So the way his contract works is, if you leave, you have to pay him 50% of your income, which pretty much means after taxes and everything, you get nothing. So yeah,
But that's not right. I mean,
see, I told you it makes some people uncomfortable.
Texas shit right there. You know.
Yeah, exactly. Matt's like, let me think about this, right? So
I agree. I think that what Matt said, just getting an attorney to help draft something that works for you, but who also has experience, with these types of contracts. We had somebody do one for us years ago as an agent contract that we use in addition to our like team agent contract, because the legality stuff I leave to the people who know their stuff. But yeah, I mean, every state's gonna be different. Everyone's gonna have things that make them uncomfortable or comfortable. And I would go with find an attorney you like and have them draft it. It's like so inexpensive to do and worth every penny.
Yep.
So
I
drop
agree.
this in the chat, right? A termination agreement. How do you share contacts, clients you both worked with, a non-solicit, a non-disclosure, your intellectual property, and a non-disparagement? Does everyone know what a non-disparagement is?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm taking a
If
picture.
anyone
of this.
doesn't, just say no. So look, these are all things that you have to start thinking about. Look, building a scalable business involves thinking about when things don't go well, right? And Josh just dropped one of his documents in. Listen, anyone that has this, please just email it to Deborah, right? All your termination stuff today, Matt, Josh, everybody, and we'll update it into the vault. So it's all in there for everyone to find. And if you need a demo, right, of like, where do I find all this stuff? Just email Brooke, Brooke at Chirag Shah Coaching, and she'll set up a one-on-one time where to walk with you where the recordings are, where all the other people's marketing is and everything else. So now, number one is we're going to think about this going forward when we recruit people, what happens if they want to go off on your own? So what are your all immediate thoughts about that, right? Because I don't think anyone factors that into when they're hiring people.
No.
And then these situations cause a lot of drama. They cause stress. They're distractions. What do you do? The goal of today is that at the end of this, collectively, you all each walk away with an idea of what to do when somebody tells you one day that they want to leave your team and go on another one or start their own.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Torn about it because in one hand you feel like you did your job, right? Like you've trained someone and they blossomed and now they're ready to fly, right? So on one hand you feel that, and the other hand you feel, F you, I trained you, and I gave you everything, and now you want to fly. So you kind of feel both ways. But I do think if you have someone like super duper talented who's bringing a lot of business, that you have to expect that. I mean, I have a team of servicers now just because I went for that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I think you have to, it's important to expect no matter who's on your team when they join that they are going to want to leave at some point, and I think as team leads, it's a hard pill for us to swallow. But, I just went through this the last 24 hours. I mean, yesterday was just miserable for me, dealing with all these higher ups at Compass and just, I mean, it was a nightmare. I had a lot of whiskey last night, but,
Tommy, excuse me, is Compass putting pressure on you? Because they're putting pressure on me, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, things have changed. I mean, and I've talked about that with Amber, my operations director, and some of my team this morning. We had our office sales meeting, the entire office, and I think just like any company, as Compass gets bigger, any company gets bigger, that handshake, spit on the hand and handshake culture talk, all of that, unfortunately weakens. And I don't fault Compass. It's just, that's what happens when you get big, right? And there's only so much they can control. So I had to kind of step out of my comfort zone and put my foot down and pound my chest a little bit, which that's just not my leadership style. And I let them know that, but that's what it took in order for me to get what I wanted. So I was really disappointed with the way it went down, and with the particular agent, it was just ugly. I mean,
someone should be calling you today about this, by the way.
What was that, Drag?
You'll get a phone call about this today.
And yeah, I mean, it didn't end the way I wanted, but like, I couldn't back down, you know, but I think going back, what happened with me, it was how this person chose to attempt to leave the team, you know, and that was the big thing for me. And in the conversation yesterday was, if you would have came to me a month ago and just said, hey, Tommy, thank you for everything. I'm doing real well. I'm having growing pains. I feel like I'm ready to go off on my own. You know, I told this person, dude, I probably would have given you a high five and you'd have an office on the other side of this wall right here. I said, I would have given in because you're a good person, you know, and because I look at it, I think Stacy said it, I look at that as a compliment. You know, this person came to me 2 years ago. That year they sold $3 million. When they joined my team, the next year they sold 27 million. Right. So I had to provided some type of value. The issue was how that person elected to go around my back and go up the corporate chain thinking they could get away with it. And it backfired extremely bad for that person. And, you know, I think my kindness and nice, easygoing attitude, he sensed weakness, but, you know, that's where I had to pound my chest, you know. Unfortunately, I'm also probably the most competitive person you'll ever meet. So like, it's on, right? And I told him that. And, you know, I said, unfortunately, if you would have handled it the right way, you'd probably be next door. But now, I'm sorry, man, you're gone.
Yep.
And so here's what I want to point out in this. Couple things you guys know. I had done my own research for Tommy, and some of the managers here, some of them are newer, aren't fully aware of like the OG Compass team leader policy. It's still very much the same thing. Unfortunately, the experience that Tommy had was a real shitty one, right? Number two is this is exactly why I want all of us in the recruiting process to build out, if it ever is a day that you choose to leave, here's how we need you to do it, right? Like if someone's leaving your team, it shouldn't be a 1 week notice, a 2 week notice, it'd be like a 3 month notice, maybe even longer, right? So you can unwind your contacts, your deals, your transactions, your relationships in a thoughtful manner that's respectful, right? Because if you think about this like a PR campaign, if someone's leaving a team, there needs to be some joint messaging. What happens with the clients you're actively working with? How do we message them? How do we transition them? What happens with any listings that we spent money on? There are all these different scenarios. And what happens is these people just want to leave. And they generally go behind your back and do it. Josh had the same experience. And he asked me, what do I do? I said, tell him, kick him out. Yeah. I kicked him out. And he didn't want it. He's like, really? And I told Tommy the same thing. Like, look, if people meet you with integrity, you don't meet them with force. But if somebody meets you with force, you have to meet them with force. So I encourage all of you, you know, over the next 7 to 10 days to build something out so that if that scenario happens, you know what to do. And it's clear to all the people on your team from the time that they get there, right? Margot put a great quote in there. Train people well enough so they can leave, treat them well enough so they want to stay. And the reality is Tommy treated this person really well, helped them grow their business, and then they wanted to leave. Matt, one of Matt's team members, Matt, I hope you don't mind that I share this, came like holding a gun to his head for like more money, right? And Matt was frustrated. He said, go back to the numbers and look at what percentage of the deals are yours versus the agents. Guess what that number was? 90% was Matt's. So the guy stopped, right? We all need to be proactive and mindful in what we're doing, how we're doing it. And I'll let David talk a little bit more about this. It is the way we communicate this with the people on our team, right?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of pieces here that are really important that I see as a blind spot with a lot of leaders, not just with Compass, but with other businesses that I've worked with in the past. And that is generally leaders want to know everything about their business. They're watching everything in the business. They're planning everything in the business. But one area where that generally doesn't happen is exactly what we're talking about today. Who's actually going to be here 6 months from today? Who's angling to get out right now? Who's happy? Who's not happy? And so to be as successful as possible in this, and of course, also noting that some people are not going to want to play ball with you anyway, but some will. And for those, it's important to set it up in the beginning, say, this is how we handle these things so that there's an expectation. And then secondly, as you go along in business, you need to be setting some time aside to make sure that the person is getting what they want out of the relationship. You know, you would do anything to make sure that your clients leave you happy at the end of the transaction. You want the same thing to happen with the people who choose to leave your team, because where are they going? They're going out there in industry, and they're going to talk about their experience with you, and they're going to say whatever seems right for them to say about you and your business. And that's going to affect your ability to create relationships with other Compass agents or perhaps clients in the field. You might end up, you know, on a pitch against one of those people someday. Who knows? And so the last thing you want is for people to go away angry. What you really want is your team to come to be seen by everybody as a place where talent can thrive. And so you want to develop a reputation out in the field where people know that if they come to you, they're going to learn how to do the business right. They're going to get treated right. They're going to make money. They're going to achieve their goals, et cetera. And if somebody does choose to leave, it shouldn't be a surprise. They shouldn't be sneaking out the back door. And so if you're meeting with your people from time to time, like we talk about the 10-10-30-30 performance management process, where you're booking 10 minutes every 10 days to talk with them about how things are going, and you're booking 30 minutes every 30 days, which is a more general conversation about their life, their work with the team, how they're feeling about their career and all that stuff. If you're having those conversations all the way through, they're far more likely to say to you at some point, if they really feel good about your relationship with you, you know what, I'm thinking like my time here is coming to an end one of these days. That's what you want to hear, right? The last thing you want to hear is, I'm out and I'm out tomorrow. And so the way that you can get there with some people is make sure that this is a kind of an explicit or overt part of your relationship, not a hidden covert part of it. And not everybody will play that game in America, unfortunately, but for the ones who will, you'll save yourself a lot of trouble. You'll be able to do those comms and the coordination that Chirag was talking about. Ultimately, you want people to leave saying, man, you know what? It was time for me to move on, but that was a great experience. Those are great people over there.
Can I jump in? Because I've had some trauma. Yeah, I guess all of us have. So week before last, the two agents who had been on my team the longest resigned after planning it behind my back for several weeks within 30 seconds of each other. They left the team 10 minutes before our morning team meeting, and they went to a discount flat rate broker that took over my lease at my last location. They literally went back to under our old roof without us. And for me, there was nothing I can look back, and there was nothing I could do to be proactive. They each had 30 minutes alone with me every week. One of them said she was quitting because of her husband's new job and her kids. 2 or 3 weeks prior, I'd said, I didn't know you were alone with the kids. What can I do to help you in your personal life or your business? I know it's a lot, you know, that kind of thing. The other one, I said, hey, in the new office, what can I do to make you comfortable? I did everything I could, but here's the problem. Because our team agreements that were revised in December were not sent out to them, they have left with no agreement that our team products and marketing and, you know, things for clients, they can recreate those. There's nothing in their contract to stop them. There is no non-disparagement agreement. I do have a non-compete, but 4 months later, when we didn't take care of the back end and we didn't predict the worst or predict the inevitable, we didn't cover ourselves. And for whatever reason, after they left, they've decided they're mad. I don't know. They were servicers, not producers. And so they weren't eligible to stay with Compass. That wasn't on the table. But once I stopped crying, you know, once I stopped crying, I realized that legally we're wide open and exposed. They can just go recreate my team experience a mile and a half down the road. I'm screwed. And I was already working on this. So I'm glad to see you guys sharing things, but I want to encourage you to protect yourselves too. I never thought these women would do this to me in this way. I've held their babies. I've carpooled their children. They resigned in tandem in an email and never said, boo, kiss my ass to me. And, you know, evidently I never knew them, right? Evidently they didn't. They've been around so long that they don't appreciate everything I do for my team. But what I could have done is made sure that those team agreements were signed and made sure that they aren't out recreating our buyer guide.
you know, with a different logo on it. And here I am, you know. So.
That sounds so hard. So I'm sorry that you were dealing with that for the past 2 weeks. That really sucks.
I'm to the angry phase.
Yeah. I just want to say though, you can't recreate what you put together just like that. Like they may not have signed the contract, but like, you know how much goes into everything that we do. It is not just recreating a brochure. This is blood, sweat, and tears that we put together. You know, especially if they're transitioning over to a discount agency. Come on now. To put together what you have, they need to start hiring. They need to start organizing. They need to start getting in front of a camera every single day. They're not going to do that. So I've learned the same lesson in a way, like where I didn't renew them like clockwork. And this may, I don't know if this helped or not. It helped a little bit, but one time when I was in a jam and some agents were coming to me about asking for more splits, and they just really wanted it, I did an email back to them and they were like, we're out of contract too. And I said, okay, well, like, I can't respond to this. This significantly impacts our bottom line, you know, so I need a month to run the numbers, blah, blah, blah. Can we all agree to extend the contract that we last signed until the end of August? And so like in that meantime, like they confirmed that we had something back in place, at least that we had a trail. And then at the end of the month, I was like, no, sorry, can't help you.
Did they all leave you?
2 out of the 3, they were the toxic ones on the team anyways. This was what Chirag was alluding to before, that they were not allowed to stay at Compass. And the culture has been better since, you know, so but I'm sorry, that sucks. I know that when you're in the thick of that, it's just not a fun place to be.
Well, and honestly, it's interesting. I don't know how many of you guys have lost team members, but once the dust settled, I did not look at them with my rose-colored like mom goggles of loving my team anymore. And I'm glad they're gone. I think they were toxic too.
That's what I was going to say.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was going to bring up. You know, like, it's probably debatable, and I think we all probably have our own different opinions. But when I think about everything we're saying, and I actually thought about this a lot last week after Angela was sharing her stuff, and probably after way too many years of therapy, a lot of it comes back to like, why is it bothering us that they're leaving? Like, is it because like our initial reaction is probably ego, or, you know, all the things that we get scared of first, like you were crying, you're upset, but now that they're gone and the dust settled, you realize they're not the right fit. And, you know, with Angela, you're struggling with this girl, but I think about it like it's like dating. Like if a guy doesn't want to be with me anymore, I don't want to be with him either. You know, it's like if she doesn't want to be with you and she doesn't see value in you, then she doesn't deserve to be with you, you know, and you could find somebody else. And I know it's scary and you're going to lose a lot of sales. And that's probably what's really, you know, prominent in your mind right now, because we're all entrepreneurs and we all want to succeed and we all want our numbers, but maybe somebody else will come along and give you those sales with appreciating what you offer, versus having this girl that's making you crazy. Now, this is like the 3rd or 4th week now you've been talking about it. So it's eating you up inside, you know, is that worth it?
No, agreed.
You know what happens to Andrew though? The part that she leaves out of this though?
He's gonna, no telling what he's about to say.
Don't you love that about me? Every time these people that we should have fired, she'll tell you, I wanted to fire all these people. So there are 3 people that have left, all that we wanted, that I've told her to fire. And every time they leave on their own, the part that she leaves out is something miraculously good comes out of nowhere for you. Correct?
Yes. I've had more over $1 million listings in the last 2 weeks that we're getting ready to put on the market all at once than I ever have in my whole career. So it's kind of like a little, you know, people say like a God wink or a tap on your shoulder. Like every time something that seems catastrophic happens, then amazing things come on the heels of it for our team.
Andrea, I had a team member that made almost $300,000 in 2020 for Muncie at Muncie Group net take home.
Off of your leads.
Off of my lead, transitioned out in August. And then I have one of our newer team members got licensed at the end of January this year. And she is mopping the floor with our, like, you can't miss the action she's doing on MLS. And like, I can't help but wonder in the back of my, maybe this is my ego or whatever, or I'm a little bit like, fuck you. But like I know she's like killing it. And these other persons that are out the door are not doing nearly that type of volume that they did before. And like, you know, like you just keep doing you. Like Chirag told me to fire the people that eventually left anyways. And sometimes it just has to happen, and it sucks because like you value the people in your group, you care about them. So the transitions are tough, but I think that if it's not meant to be in the long term, it's going to be a lot better for you.
I think so. I agree. And thank you for saying that. And one thing that I don't know if you guys experience this or not, but when I've had agents who are with me a long time, and I have all different agents now, I do not have the same licensed agents on the team I had 6 months ago. Our leadership team is the same. Everybody else is different, but agents who've stayed a long time and I've favored and I've given a lot of leads and they've done a lot of business because they're servicing my business. There is a point in a buyer agent's mind that a switch flips and they think they did it all, and they think they did it all without you, despite reality, right? And I think that happened with one of them, for sure. You know?
That may be in the majority for a lot of people out there, and those aren't the people you want, right? You want the people who know they have a good thing going, they're willing to collaborate with you. You know, Jess brought up the word date. I like the term marriage. You know, you're marrying these people when you bring them on board and you invest so much in them, and you know, they're investing in you too. And you need to talk through these things. If they're not willing to talk about stuff, they may not be right. And certainly if they're going to sneak out at the last minute and not tell anybody and do it at the same time and all that, they definitely weren't right. Unfortunately, you know, that's proof of it right there. Remember that people will make decisions based on what the world looks like to them. And that's, you know, the choice they make. And they are going to find out that a lot of them will find out that, yeah, they had a good deal and they blew it.
Yeah. And, you know, if you cross me in my personal life, I'm likely to forgive you, but you cross me in business, they're done. That bridge is burned, blown up. Yeah, there's no coming back. They could crawl back. There is no way, never.
Don't mess with Texas.
Yeah, maybe.
Today.
And you Texas agents,
we're mean. No, I'm kidding.
Texas agents have different culture. It's amazing. I was going to say a couple of things. One is I got burned also years ago by somebody, and I had to claw back some of the relationships, and I was naive and just handing over so much to her. And I couldn't, you know, say when she left, you know, she wanted to go start her own team. And so I said, good, you know, you should go start your own team. But I had to claw back some of those relationships. The other thing I was going to say is you know, I have a guy who's maybe looking to get out of real estate, and he's been on my team the longest, and he's a great guy. I don't think he would ever leave, but you know, he's been struggling. The leads that I've given to him haven't turned into something recently, to the point where he's kind of starting to run out of money. And some of the other agents on my team, the leads I've given them have been closing and they've been great. But I told him, I said, look, without saying a name, I can't just give you everything. You know, in the past, I didn't have as big of a team, but if you were to leave, like in this situation, where would I be? I don't have a team if I'm giving all my preferred leads to one person. So I think that gets into the training part of it, is like, we really have to go back a few steps and like train the heck out of people and have so much confidence in the people that we have, so that if one person leaves or two people leave, we're still okay. We're still resilient.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's hard because when we bring people into our team, I know for me, I love them. I'm bringing them into the fold. Right. And I take it personally if I'm not worth a phone call, you know?
That brings me to a question that Ben asked me. He knows exactly I'm going to go through this. When we were all in San Diego, John Craven, our video guy, is like, hey, random question. Just ask Chirag a bunch of questions. And he goes, do you ever have to deal with any traumas or like challenges people have in their personal life and coaching, right? So like that whole I'm not worth the phone call is more of a question of your own self-worth than it has anything to do with business. And in reality with that, it's you take the mirror here and you flip it back to them. It's not of whether you're worth a phone call or not. Is it as a person that's taken from another person that's, you know, shared experience of its own? Are you the type of person that has so little integrity that you can't pick up the phone, right? It has nothing to do with you, right? Remember all those rules I had that you guys all like about effective communication? It's always their choice. It's people's choice how they decide to show up in a situation and how they leave a situation, right? And what you can get from the Andrea's scenario, Josh's scenario, and then we're getting to Margaret because she's the only one that actually raised her hand, Tommy's scenario, right? And Angela's scenario that they're going to is these people have their own values, as David would say, underneath their iceberg. What we saw was above their iceberg. And the saying that I love is people see what they want to see and they hear what they want to hear because that's what you want in the moment, right? So as you think about this going forward, don't ever look at this as you. There's nothing to do with you, Andrea, or any of us, right? That's who they are. And when I talked to Tommy about his person, he's like, man, I was in a yelling match with this guy. He goes, I had no idea the guy. He goes, that guy really showed me who he really was today. Because as my mom always says, you know, she always says, everyone is nice to you when they want something, right? My dad just always says, hey, Dad, what are you buttering me up for? He's like, I'm not a butter. I'm not toast. Like, I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm just being nice. Like, what do you want? Right. And so like, when you start thinking about all these things, that it can always lead right back to yourself. Like, why, right? Why me? Why wasn't I? But it's nothing to do with you. And if you look at all these people and all this stuff, and then you really start digging into who they are as a person, more has to do with them and their integrity. So as hard as it is, try not to think about that, but go all the way back to the beginning. If we all had these conversations with people in the beginning, would this ever happen? No. It's like, what's the best time to split up $1 when there isn't one, right? When there's no money, it's very easy to split up. You get this, I get this. As soon as it opens, even if there's $5, well, I did this, you did, like, that's just life and that's human nature. Or go.
A little less of a contentious situation, but I'm interested to hear if this has ever happened to any of you. We had an agent about a year ago who left real estate completely, but you know, still had contacts and things, and so he's technically still like on our team for essentially referral purposes. But I don't know how I feel about like having his license still with me when he's not participating in real estate every day. And you know, Compass doesn't have the option to have a, what do they call it, like just a referral licensee or something. So I was curious as to.
I have two referral agents.
What is that? So what does that mean?
I have actually a few. I'll send you the paperwork. It's a referral agent. They hold their license with Compass, and then they get 20%. It's for like attorneys that hold the license or former, you know, real estate agents, and they get 20% off the net that I get. And I don't know, I mean, I'm still using the paperwork, so if Compass got rid of it, I haven't. But no, we just signed someone up the other day, and they have to have a salesperson's license, not a brokerage license. And I will send you the document.
Okay. That'd be great. Thanks, Stacy.
Follow up on the to-do list.
Sorry, just to recap that, Stacy, sorry, I missed like the first couple of words, just to recap.
So like I have a bunch of
affiliate.
They're like attorneys or former agents or people that got their license but never really worked in real estate. I have one person who's an image consultant. She works with a lot of wealthy people. She just like sends over referrals. They hold their license with us at Compass, and we pay them through Compass. But it's not like a referral fee like I'd pay you guys. It's a different.
Yeah, they're not in your team photo.
They're not in my team photo. Yeah. We did have them in my personal website as like supporting agents at one point. We just switched websites and we didn't add them. I know one of them will ask, but and I'm happy to have her on. It doesn't cost me anything, but it's not like a referral fee like I pay you or someone who's actively in real estate. So it's less, it's off the net, and it's 20%. And I will send it to everybody.
So we have something, Stacy, that they're trying to do on Long Island, because I have a few people that or not a few, I have two that are interested in doing that. And it has to do with like team numbers, and you can have like one person on your team with a referral type of thing, but we don't, or Compass doesn't really have that set up yet. I've been bugging them within our region, and it's supposedly something that's coming any week now, but everything you just described, but I can't do it yet here.
I think, look, I think to go through this one, it's incredible how we've all just come together today for each other. Just I want to just acknowledge that. And two, you have people, Tracy, that come at you all out of the woodwork. Hey, do you want to join? Can this person join your team? This person join your team? This person join your team? Listen to me carefully as this recording only stays in my vault. Do not buy into that. Don't do it. Right?
No. This is actually trying to weed out somebody and put them on a referral versus sitting on my team and not producing. So that's what that is.
Oh, I know that. I was just saying in general for everybody, when
Yeah.
people's ICAs expire and they can't be a principal, they try to reshuffle them and compass the teams. Do not buy like, you know, like the chicken that stayed out on the shelf too long and now they're putting on clearance. It's a nice way to put it.
But can I just ask a
So-
question too, with
Yeah.
all of this, with like somebody leaving a team? Because I've heard different things, and I'm newer to Compass. When somebody leaves a team, if they do X amount of GCI, do they switch over to somewhere in Compass? Or if they're part of your team and you brought them in? Because I've seen both, where it's like, you're not working at Compass anymore, get out of here. Or they've tried to like shift, like management almost wants to keep that person and shifts them to a different office. Or is there any rhyme or reason to?
That's what's happening with me right now, Tracy, the girl on my
Me
team.
too.
Yep. She's done, she'll do probably close to 60 million on her own, or, you know, obviously, but I'm doing the 90% of the work, and I'm literally getting the firm hand from Compass saying, we really need to keep her. It would be a big mistake for you to lose her. And I'm doing the numbers thanks to Chirag. And I'm like, it's not a fucking charity case here. I mean, I'll be paying money to keep her on my team. What for?
Right.
Yeah. I believe, and what Compass has told me is that I have the right to say, no bueno, you are not on my team. You're not staying at Compass.
That's my impression as well, that like, yeah, they would like to keep her if she's a producer, but ultimately when push comes to shove, like if you know, you can put the kibosh on it, but I could be wrong.
And what happened?
Especially not in the tri-state region. They will cut, it doesn't matter who it is. If that goes up to leadership in tri-state, they're gone, right? Like it's not even an issue. I reached out to people that I knew yesterday on Tommy's behalf, and they reassured me, who is it? Who do you need to speak to? How, like, they were very adamant about that. This is not changing here. Like very adamant, right? Very adamant, very firm about it. Like this is like something that's set in stone here. It's not, even as the company grows, it's not something they want to get away from. But let's just go back to this is, you know, some people have to go eventually, and I see people dropping off. You have to plan for this in the beginning, right? So sit down, go through, think about this. But here's an assignment for everyone to do. Take a team member that currently has a bunch of your business, Ben, right? So let's take Diana, right? She has a bunch of deals that she's doing, right?
Yeah.
So imagine today she decides to say, I want to go off on my own, right? Allison, Ginge decides to go off on her own, which is never going to happen, but you know, say she does.
It would be a rough day.
No, I shouldn't have said this to you. She's gonna call me later like, you piece of crap. Now I'm all anxious.
Oh, you did feature her in your video. I saw that.
I didn't edit the video, but sure, yeah. So here's what I want you to think about. If someone was leaving, what is going to happen, right? Like, so think about it. Like in any case of an emergency, people have a protocol that happens, right? So I want all of us to think of, if somebody wants to leave, what is the protocol, right? Like, what's a protocol if an existing team member wants to do this? And then the second half of the assignment is, what do we do, right, Jillian? Like, when new people come in, since your team's like this new growing, ongoing funnel of people, like, how do we make it clear as to what our policy is, right? I will give you this. So since all of you guys are doing this from scratch, if David and I had a shared real estate team, I'll let David say what he says, you can choose to leave, right? We want a 3-month notice, and this is how the transition goes out. These are the clients, these are the contracts and everything else. 3 months is enough time for all of us to put our egos, emotions, and you betrayed me, you used me, and all that other stuff to the side. Right? And then this is how it goes. But it's done in the beginning. So like, Andrew, if something like this happens, you're like, okay, great. We have 3 months. This is a process. It's the non-predictability in all of this for us that makes it really hard, right? You have non-predictability, and then it automatically goes to your emotions. Like, well, what about me? Like, do they not care about me? Do they have no respect for me? Do they not value me? Did all that stuff not mean anything? Do I not deserve a phone call? It has nothing to do with you. These people just want more. And the more that they want is money, right? I have not heard of that many people that have left teams with integrity. Thank you so much for what you did. You know, I've learned this and now I want to do this. Is this okay? How can I make this okay for you, Josh, as I do this? And how can we make this a win-win for all of us? They don't do that.
Rob, I have a non-disclosure agreement and an independent contractor agreement, and I also have like a employee manual that I had an attorney do. But after today, I feel like I want to touch everything up and make sure that all of these other things like that you mentioned are included. Is this like state by state that you have to have an attorney that's licensed in your state do it? Or is this something that like as a group, we could hire someone to make these templates for all of us rather than each going out and hiring?
Well, they're independent contractors, right? So that's very different than employees.
Yeah.
I personally would vote to find your own attorney. And this is not an area you want to try to save money on, right?
Oh, no.
Like,
I hired an attorney to do these other things. I personally thought he sucked. He wasn't very good.
So let's find an aggressive. You want to find somebody that's more aggressive, right? So I would ask your colleagues, I would ask your sales managers, right? I would put a set of 5 to 7 questions together, right? And in terms more of like situational hiring, right? Like, if this happens, like, what do you do? How do you protect me? And come up with some of your things, right? Because ultimately, you want to know what the outcome is, and you need an attorney to draft up papers that makes that legally binding, right? If it's legal.
I want to add 2 things here. One, I'm going to repeat it again. I've said it before, alignment. An important part of your work as a leader of your team is to make sure that you and everybody on your team is in alignment. How do we define alignment? Being in clear and explicit agreement. Clear means specific and nuanced. We know the details about what we're talking about, whatever the conversation is. Maybe it's about leaving, termination, something like that. Explicit means we've talked it through. Better yet, it's written down somewhere. And third, agreement means we're both willing to abide by whatever those specific, nuanced, explicit items are. And this is essentially what any contract is. It's clear, that's specific and nuanced. It's explicit, it's there in black and white, and everybody agrees to it by signing it. Now, whether you choose to actually sign an agreement about this termination stuff with your teammates or your ICAs or whatever is up to you. But the opportunity to be aligned around it is still there for all of us. And when we get these surprises, sometimes it's because the person's an asshole and there's nothing we can do about it. But other times it's they never thought. They never thought there's another way to do this. You know, like in America, there's a standard like 2 weeks notice or 1 week notice, and who cares who you're leaving behind, right? But just putting something like this in front of somebody and having the conversation, if you can get them to agree to it, then it's a little harder for them to just walk away in the middle of the night later. Second thing I want to add, and I know because time is getting short, for you, Andrea, Tommy, anybody who's like questioning yourself after somebody walks away, I'm totally with Chirag and what he was saying before. When a person leaves you, don't take that as feedback about you or your team or your business or anything like that. The 4 Agreements is a book written by this guy named Don Miguel Ruiz. He comes from the Toltec tradition in Central America. And the Toltecs have this kind of code for life. And essentially they say, if you can kind of abide by these 4 agreements with yourself, you're going to have a happy and successful life. And one of them is don't take everything personally. And what Chirag was saying in different words, what Don Miguel Ruiz would say is the choices that people make in their life are a reflection of their dream, of their experience of life, not of you. And so instead of feeling badly that they walked away and, is that something about how I led? Should I have done it too differently? Nothing wrong with like some self-examination there. But if it's like getting you hot, it's getting you lathered, it's getting you all upset, remember that they make a choice simply because of their dream of life, their experience of life, how the world looks like according to them. And you're not responsible for that. In fact, they could be totally crazy and they're just acting out of that craziness. So it's an easy read for you individually, or it's great to discuss with your team. If you like it, reading it yourself, share it with your team. It's an easy read for everybody. And one or two of those agreements might be good for your team.
Chirag, I want to just say one thing too, more on the, I guess, emotion side of it. I posted it on my story this morning as I was driving in the office. And, it's unfortunate that what I talked about in the story, but it happened. But, yesterday I was so caught up in myself and beating myself up. And, I went to the gym and then went to the office and had that meeting and it turned into a screaming match and all the Compass people were here. And then I was here all day and then I had a listing appointment and I had to go to my daughter's awards assembly, all of that. And I walked in my house at about 7:30 at night. I'd been on my phone all day, just doing what we do. And I see on the news what happened in South Texas, right? I had no idea. I hadn't heard on the radio, nothing. And I talked about perspective, right? And I think it's a big thing. I know anyone's Gary Vee fans, he talks about it, right? A lot. Like, I thought about it and it was like, you know what? That crap that happened today didn't even matter. I mean, if I would have gotten a phone call at 4 PM and someone told me my 2 daughters had been shot, do you think the guy who left my team, who screwed me over, really freaking matters? No. So I'm really, really holding that, in everything I do. And even in the last 24 hours, it's helped me. You think about all the things we are so worked up about because we're competitive. A lot of us are type A, we're go-getters. But you know what, guys? I mean, there's a reason they wanted to come work for you. And yeah, they might leave it someday, but you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. You're just going to do better and better. You see what's happening to Andrea, right? So, perspective is a huge thing for me. I mean, you see what's going on with those parents. Imagine being a parent down in Uvalde, Texas right now. Their second grader got murdered. I mean, so.
Yeah, well, I'll echo his sentiments is.
Sorry, I killed the mood, but.
Because Tommy, that was actually spot on. Like sometimes I think, just like you said, all we do is look at this phone and look at all of our contacts and everything. And similarly, I've been thinking about, I sat and watched the Ranger game with my oldest daughter yesterday, who's becoming a teacher. And across the group family text, my son says, can you imagine Courtney's job as a teacher could potentially put her in more harm's way than as one of our military people. And then I've got all the shit going on with Megan. And it's like, this is what matters most. Let's go Rangers. I've got my family here and holy shit, those parents. And I pray for them. Great way to close this out. Because you're right. We have to sometimes take a step back and put ourselves in the context of the bigger world. And I don't sometimes.
Perspective taking is one of the key elements of resilience.
As entrepreneurs, I'll leave you with a couple thoughts too. Is I call it the entrepreneur's curse. Ben and I have talked many conversations about this. It's that thing inside of you. I call it a curse because you could turn off your computer, you could turn off the TV, you could turn off a light switch, you could turn a lot of things off. But that stupid thing in you, it's like, how do I find another deal? What do I do with my team? What about this? You can't turn that off inside of you. And if you don't control it, it will run wild and ruin your life, right? So, this whole live more life saying, it's not like a slogan, it's a true way of being, right? Like we all have so many things to be grateful for, so many blessings in our lives, but yet it's the 5 minutes bad in the day that our whole day is focused on versus the 23 hours and 55 minutes that everything went well. And as human beings, it's something you constantly have to work on controlling. right? So like anxiety, it's fear of the unknown, right? But also, if you knew everything that was going to happen, what fun would that really be?
Do you guys remember what the comment I made about Valerie in Boston, for those of you who are in Boston? When you ask Valerie, hey, Valerie, how are you doing? Do you know how she answers invariably, and no matter what day and 1 week and month of her life it is? She says, I am sensational by choice.
By choice.
And so that, you know, that says to me that there's a certain way that she chooses to like show up in her life no matter what's happening. And it's very easy for us to like abandon that and end up in reactive mode and, you know, think that our circumstances are our life, but they really aren't. You know, there's always this buffer between circumstance and experience, and that's interpretation or perspective.
Look, we have a very loving, connected community here, and you know, to close things out with gratitude, we're all grateful for each other. I'm grateful for all of you. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be part of ultimately all of your lives. And you know, I don't think there's a person on this call knows that you can't pick up the phone and call either myself or David, and that we'll be there to help you. Right? I talked to Stacy this morning at like 7 something in the morning, and she was ready to have a tough conversation as I drove home from the gym. I've talked to Tommy, I've talked to Andrew, to anybody. But that's what community is. And sometimes to take a step back and realize at this point in life, most adults don't make friends like this. It is something that's really special and really remarkable. And I think that's one of the things that makes this place so great, right? It's all the people, right? Like, think about it. I talk to, there's some of you on this call, like I talk to Ben all the time. I talk to Ben more than most of the people I even went to high school with, right? Like, and him and I have like a deep bond. I literally went to Miami and he's like, are you busy? I'm like, no, dude, I just want to hang out. You're my friend, right? So I hung out with him Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and I really didn't run around and do anything. And it was an amazing trip, right? So, you know, I encourage all of you, besides like what we talked about, is to take a moment today and just take out a journal and just take 5 minutes, put a song on, put something on, and take 5 minutes and write down all the things you actually have in your life. Because whatever you have today, there's someone or some point in your life that's what you wanted and you dreamed of. So who you are today is a dream of a past version of yourself. And like most of us here, I know, have kids, and we have so many good things in our lives to be grateful for. So since I can curse in front of this group, fuck the people that don't value us. Fuck these people that don't have, that want to go out and do all these dumb things. Fuck these people that are selfish, that work in the government, that won't make decisions to help all of us, right? We can control our environment. We can control the way that we give to others. We can try and manage our emotions, and we can try to make everywhere a little better than when we came. So we can't change all this stuff, but you know what? You can at any point go there and change somebody's day just by asking how they're doing, right? You can go donate your time somewhere to people that don't have anything. We are all financially well. Go give something to a family that's nothing, and that's remarkable. So, you know, I think this was a good way to end it. If anyone has any sentiments they'd like to share, please do. And just know we love you all.
I think the big takeaway for all of us, like honestly, should be when Chirag says to let somebody go, do it then, as opposed to waiting 6 months later and having him clean it all up first.
Chirag called the person I'm talking about. Chirag, you called it on day freaking 1. Day 1, you called it. Yep.
One of the most valuable questions that I ask my clients that they tell me over and over again is simply this: you should be asking yourself regularly, what am I tolerating? Put it up on your wall, think about it, look at it from time to time, because chances are you're tolerating stuff that you shouldn't be tolerating. And what we're talking about today is one example of that.
Or you could always put who would drag fire on the wall. Just kidding. Who should we fire?
Appreciate you all.
Great job. I really appreciate it. Great job.
Hey, have a great Memorial Day weekend,
guys.
everybody.
Guys, we're going to King. We're going somewhere tropical. So I'll end on that note. Like, that's going to be fun.
All right.
Love it.
Peace and love, everybody. Later, guys.
See you guys.
Dominican.
Bye.
Yeah, Pura Vida.